have a confession to make. I don't actually post everything that I am drawing. I post everything that I want to post. It seems like a very obvious thought, but for some reason it was really hard for me to actually come to it. I think a lot of artists right now, in times of social media, are dealing with the same thing I dealt with, or at least something similar. Trying to find an audience for our art, deciding to post it on social media, and then effectively burning out in a year, maybe less, maybe more. And there are obviously a lot of different reasons why this thing is happening. It was a combination of different problems for me, and I think it is the case for others as well. There is one of these problems that I understood after a few years of my first failing attempt at maintaining my social media profiles. I don't actually enjoy sharing everything about my art process with people. I heard from different random internet discussions that we have to be authentic and we don't have to fear to post our so-called ugly art or ugly stages of art. And this thing about artist authenticity is very interesting to me. I understand why people don't like it when artists actively lie or create a false image or false narrative about themselves. For example, nowadays, with AI art, tracing, plagiarism and other problems, it is normal for artists to post their speed paints, sketches or different art stages to prove that this art piece was really done by them. And I absolutely understand that. I understand that nobody likes to be deceived, nobody wants to support fakes, and people absolutely don't want to support AI art. But I think it is really strange to require all details possible from everybody. And it is even worse when young artists like past me internalize this idea of authenticity and decide that they no longer have the right to pick and choose what they want to post. For me, it was a really subconscious thing. I drew something and that means that I need to post it. It's okay if it's not ideal and it's okay if I'm not proud of it. And well, it makes sense. Ideal art doesn't exist and I'm still learning and developing, so I can post everything. The right question should not be, is this art good enough to post it on social media? It should be, do I want to post this art on social media? Do I need to? You know this saying, dance like nobody can see you. I think it is like this with art. There is a fundamental intimacy in the process of art creation. There is some magic in it that every artist feels or understands differently. It is this special thing you do when your thoughts, emotions, experience, understanding of the world transform into something physical that didn't exist before. You create art from a piece of yourself, and you are the only one who really understands, or at least feels, how this process works. And sometimes, when everything you do becomes content, becomes a thing to post on social media, you stop experiencing it in the same way. I remember how it felt for me. I wasn't allowing myself to make a bad piece, because I posted every one of them. I was scared to experiment and try something new, because it wasn't my format, my style. I was no longer thinking about what this art piece meant to me, because it was not made for me. I subconsciously knew it, but was too scared to admit it. And the effects of this situation weren't obvious at the beginning, no. I drew, I posted on social media, I felt some kind of progress. And then, after some time, I felt a slump. And then I burned out. Deciding to try to post art on social media again was a huge decision for me personally. I didn't want to do it again. I was scared, actually scared to lose again this new creative spark that I have. It felt like starting again would just be repeating all of my mistakes again, and this would be just stupid. It took me a few years to convince myself to try again. And this time I wanted to at least try to be honest with myself and do it in the way I am comfortable with sharing my art and my art process on social media. I, for example, have a really hard time showing someone my sketching process. I hate it. Sketching is this phase when I am developing an idea, where I am defining what I actually want to draw or paint. I just cannot do it when I know there is a camera recording it. It is easier in digital because it's not so noticeable for me, but not in traditional. It feels too intimate for me to share. I have a sketchbook where almost all of my drawings start, and usually no one sees it. It is not an aesthetic book, and I don't want it to be. I don't want ever to post pages from there. It feels too intrusive, like sharing your whole thought process or browser history out in public, honestly. It is also the case with some finished art pieces. One of the biggest struggles for me is that I hate to record how I try a new material for the first time. Logically, I understand that it might be very interesting to watch and actually creates this natural tension and intrigue that can be very fun for the audience. Hell, I am this audience that loves to see videos of other artists trying new materials. But when I think about recording how I am trying something for the first time, I don't feel excited at all. I feel like there was a safe space there, a possibility to try something and experience it for the first time, not for someone else's entertainment, but for myself, and I'm destroying this possibility. Even if I decide to just set up a camera and don't worry about footage or final video, it still means that subconsciously, in the time that should be all about my creativity, I thought about something else, spent my energy and emotions there. So sometimes I even draw or paint something that I don't plan to post ever. I didn't post my first attempts at oils, ink, oil pastels, markers. They were bad, but in a sense that they didn't need to be good. They weren't aesthetic, they were just for me. It is also the case for some experimental art pieces, for some emotional or personal ones, or for some that logically maybe don't have a reason to not be shared, but I just don't feel like it. I just allow myself to let them be. And you know what? I have another confession to make. I don't even post my art chronologically, and most of the time I post my old art. And by old I mean that sometimes I post something that I drew a few days or weeks ago, and sometimes a month or year ago. So it was another compromise I had with myself when I decided to try again posting on social media. Last time I felt like I was constantly working on tight deadlines. I was starting a drawing, finishing it in about 2 days and posting it the next day. Always endless. But it wasn't the worst part. I understood what the worst part was much later, in these 2-3 years of not posting anything and just drawing for myself. I understood how important it is for me to spend some time with my art. I don't know how to explain this feeling, and I assume that other artists experience it as well, but I'm not sure. But for me, there are a lot of conclusions that I do after I spend some time with a finished art piece. I experience what I love about it, what I don't love, what I think I should improve for the next time, what do I think about the general direction of this art piece, do I want to do more stuff like this, what are the other ideas that I can develop in this style or format, can I do with it something cool and interesting for me personally, and then what is the next art piece that I'm gonna do. This last question, you know what I noticed? I thought about it completely differently when I was posting on social media before compared to now. I feel like it is obvious why. When I posted everything on social media right after finishing it, it was the audience that decided all of this for me. They decided based on the number of likes if the thing is good or not, if I should do something like this again or not, if I need to develop this new style or format or not. The audience decided what I should draw next. And it wasn't some toxic thing from the side of my subscribers. No, it was just me unable to not pay attention to all of these numbers. It was me who allowed social media algorithms to decide for me direction of my art. I just asked myself a question. if nobody besides me sees this art piece, do I still want to draw it? And then I made it a reality for myself. Just drew it without immediately posting and made my conclusions myself. And I started to draw for myself. And then I continued to draw for myself even after 2 years of posting art on social media. It still felt like a compromise. I understood that I lost a lot of possibilities to draw something that was trending, to participate in a lot of challenges, and to generally feel more in pace with the art community. But it was still worth it because it is truly what allowed me to continue, to make art for myself and to post art for myself. I don't know if other people consider this authentic. Maybe it is not. But I don't think that historically there was a period in which artists shared every little thing about their work or work process. So, in a way, social media are the same kind of inauthentic as TV or books or even stories that people share personally. Nobody really tells everything. All of this is intentional or unintentional distortion of reality. It's just how we tell stories. Sometimes people just want to share their art. Sometimes it's just their good art. Sometimes it's just art pieces that they want to sell. Sometimes it's just art pieces that have a specific style. Sometimes it's just art pieces that do well on social media. I think that social media profiles don't have to be a diary, at least not for me. But they still can be my art gallery. They still can be a manifestation of my art, my thoughts, my creativity, and all of the things that I want to share with the world. Because my art for sure can be content, but it doesn't need to be. And who knows, maybe in the future I will be comfortable sharing more. Or maybe not. Thank you to all of you who watched this video all the way through the end. I hope that I expressed myself well enough, because this topic felt really hard for me for some reason. But oh well, at least I tried. It was Iri Mirav, and I hope to see you again. Thanks for watching!